The brain and spinal cord are collectively known as the central neural system. However, it does not include muscles and nerves which arise from the spinal cord and innervate the body. The brain is the central information processing organ of our body, and it acts as the command and control system. It controls voluntary movement as well as the involuntary movement of organs such as the lungs, heart, kidneys, stomach, blood vessels. It also controls the processes of vision, hearing, speech, memory, intelligence, emotions, and thought. The brain lies inside a bony case, the skull, and is well protected by 3 layers of cranial meninges. These are the outer dura mater, middle arachnoid, and inner pia mater. The space between the arachnoid and pia mater is filled with cerebrospinal fluid, which acts as a shock absorber and prevents the brain tissue from rubbing against other parts. The brain can be divided into 3 main parts: forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. The forebrain is the largest part of the brain. It is made up of the cerebrum, thalamus, and hypothalamus. A deep cleft divides the cerebrum longitudinally into 2 halves, the left and right cerebral hemispheres. A thick band of nerve fibers called the corpus callosum connects the 2 hemispheres and facilitates communication between them. The cerebral hemispheres are covered with a layer of cells known as the cerebral cortex. It has prominent folds with ridges and depressions called gyri and sulci respectively. The neuron cell bodies concentrated in the cerebral hemispheres lend a grey color to the region. Therefore, the cerebral cortex is called grey matter. It contains motor areas, sensory areas, and association areas. Association areas are responsible for complex functions such as intersensory associations, memory, and communication. Due to the presence of myelinated axons, the inner part of the cerebral hemisphere appears white and is thus called white matter. The thalamus is located between the cerebral cortex and midbrain and acts as a major coordinating center for sensory and motor signaling. The hypothalamus is situated at the base of the thalamus, and it contains the centers that control body temperature, the circadian rhythms, and the urge to eat and drink. Several groups of neurosecretory cells are also present in the hypothalamus, which secrete hormones that control the pituitary, which in turn controls the secretions of other endocrine glands. The collection of structures within the forebrain, including the amygdala and hippocampus, is known as the limbic system. The limbic system, along with the hypothalamus, is responsible for the regulation of sexual behavior, long-term memory, olfaction, and the expression of emotional reactions such as excitement, pleasure, rage, fear, and motivation. The midbrain is located between the thalamus and hypothalamus of the forebrain and pons of the hindbrain. The cerebral aqueduct containing cerebrospinal fluid passes through the midbrain and connects the 3rd ventricle to the 4th ventricle of the brain. It is also called the aqueduct of Sylvius. The dorsal portion of the midbrain consists of 4 lobes called corpora quadrigemina. It contains reflex centers for vision and hearing. The midbrain and hindbrain form the brain stem. It acts as a relay station for auditory and visual information. That is, every impulse conducted between brain and spinal cord passes through the brain stem. The hindbrain is formed of the pons, cerebellum, and medulla oblongata. The pons consists of fiber tracts that interconnect the cerebral cortex and medulla to the cerebellum of the brain. The convoluted surface of the cerebellum provides a lot of space to accommodate the maximum number of neurons. This part of the brain is responsible for coordinated body movement or balance of the body. The medulla oblongata acts as a link between the brain and spinal cord. The centers in the medulla oblongata control involuntary activities such as respiration, blood pressure, cardiovascular reflexes, and gastric secretions. We react instantly when we come in contact with an extremely hot or cold object, something poisonous, etc. This quick, immediate, involuntary response to an external stimulus that occurs without any conscious effort or thought is called reflex action. Such a reaction requires the involvement of only a part of the central neural system, mostly the spinal cord. The path through which the reflex action is conducted is also called the reflex arc. The reflex arc consists of a receptor, a sensory or afferent neuron, an interneuron or association neuron, motor or efferent neurons, and an effector organ. The afferent neuron receives a nerve impulse from sensory organs such as the skin and transmits it through the dorsal nerve root or sensory nerve into the spinal cord. In the spinal cord, the sensory neuron is connected to the association neuron, which transmits the stimulus to the effector neuron. The efferent neuron then passes the stimulus to effector organs such as the muscles through the ventral nerve cord. Such a reflex arc saves time by bypassing impulse transmission to the brain and thus helps us avoid painful experiences.